For those of you who don't know me, my name is Kim Bash, and I'm originally from South Africa, if you recognize the accent. And I've been living in Israel now for the last 18 years. I'm embarrassed to say that my Hebrew is still terrible, mainly because I was very lazy, and I live in the old city of Jerusalem. So a lot of people that live here mostly speak English. And I work in English, and anyway, so it's one of the things I always say to people. One of the biggest mistakes I made is not investing in speaking Hebrew enough and really doing my all pun properly. So that's something you really need to invest in yourself. It will make living in Israel much better for you and for your children and your family if you understand and not having to get translators like I have to do. So my background is in real estate. I've been working in the Jerusalem area for the last 10 years. And I actually made Aliyah from Israel. I was living in America, and then I came here on a learning program, and the rest is history. I never left, and I met my husband in Israel. So in the last couple of months, I would say probably just before COVID happened, or just at the time it did happen, a lot of people were reaching out to me and saying, Kim, we really want to make Aliyah. We don't know where we want to go. So we can read about all these amazing communities on Nefesh B'Nefesh's website, which is amazing, but we would really like to speak to people on the ground. So I started doing investigations on different types of communities in Israel, and it's been amazing. And we do these weekly calls where we look into the different communities in Israel, and I ask people, the locals, to come on the call and basically speak about themselves, speak about the community, why they chose to live in that particular community. So it gives, and then at the end, we have like a question and answer session about the location, about the area. So, and it's been a great success. We actually have had people making Aliyah to these particular locations that we've been doing. And I try and do it in areas where there is enough accommodation, for example, and affordable housing for people coming in. And also I try and get different types of places. So we've done coastal beachy areas, we've done everything. We've done yeshuvim, moshavim, we've done all different types of areas in Israel. And I'm very much, I work with people telling me where they want to find out about. So for example, next week, we're going to be doing Haifa. And the week after that, I think I'm going to concentrate on some of the yeshuvs that people have asked me to look into. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce our first speakers, Karen and Ellie. So
oh no,
everybody, I just want to tell you that there are quite a few people on this call. When I asked about Carmiel, all the people that have been so kind to come on tonight were all people that said, you must speak to so-and-so, you must speak to so-and-so. So thank you all very much for coming on tonight. I really appreciate it. So would you like to introduce yourselves?
Okay, I'm Karen and this is Ellie. And we made Aliyah 6.5 years ago. But we've been coming to Israel every year for forever. Our daughter made Aliyah 15 years ago before we came. She got married here. We have 3 grandchildren, Bli Ayin Hara, and we love Carmiel. We belong to a Dati Leumi Kehillah that's very young, a lot of young kids, young families. We kind of feel like everybody's grandma and mom and grandpa, and we really enjoy it. The community that we live in, actually the neighborhood we live in is Rabin, which is a beautiful neighborhood. Shopping is great. Everything is really beautiful here. We love it.
And when you first came to the area, did you know, I mean, you decided on Carmiel because your daughter lives in Carmiel?
My daughter was living here, and I had been coming here three times a year. 3 times a year I had been coming. I worked in the yeshiva system, so I always had vacation, and I was able to come. We came for Pesach, I came for the whole summer, and I came for winter vacation. So I was very, very familiar with the shopping, with the cooking, with living, because I was with my daughter. And it wasn't a question well, it was a question. I really wanted Yerushalayim at first. But we had decided that for 1 year, we were going to be in Carmiel to help out my daughter, who was just starting out with school and with working, and she had a young family. So we were going to give her that 1 year. And then once we were here for that 1 year, that's it. We stayed.
And when you first came there, Karen and Ellie, did you get a car straight away, or is it public transportation? How's the public transportation?
We didn't get a car right away. We waited how many months? Would you say? 2 months? Yeah, I don't know. My memory is not as good as his. We did get a car, but the transportation is wonderful here. It's really wonderful. In the time that we're living here, we've gotten train. So we actually have a train that goes to Haifa. You can switch to get to Yerushalayim, Modaim, wherever you need to go. Bus transportation, there are several lines, and it's very easy to get around. But I'm spoiled. I use my car.
Can you walk to the shops? Is there like a local makholet close by, a little shop?
There's a local makholet in our neighborhood, and there's a shufasal in our neighborhood, which are basically 2-minute walk from my house. And it's very, very convenient. I do my shopping between there, and then there are other places that I also like to go to. There's a big fruit store that's also has supermarket items as well. There's a Glatt kosher butcher in that same area where the fruit store is. So basically I do my shopping there.
And Karen, I heard you're very active in the community.
Well, before Corona hit.
She is.
Tell me some of the things that you do for the community.
When I first came here, I subbed in special ed kindergartens, my first year. My second year, I ran a tzaharon for Bereshit, which is I guess it's like the umbrella organization of all of the Datim in Carmiel. And I worked for them for a while, but then I was going back and forth to the States, so I stopped doing that. More recently, I joined something called Em La'em. It's moms who volunteer to help new moms. So you get a new mom for a year, somebody who was given birth. It could be a first child, it could be a fourth child, it could be a ninth child, it could be any child. And you volunteer for 1 day a week for 2 hours. I also started volunteering in 2 different ganim. I was the Safta of the Gan, and I was tutoring in English in one of the local schools where my grandkids go to.
Very nice.
Yeah, and my husband does, well, you want to tell them what you do?
I keep myself, we both retired, so I keep myself busy in my garden. I have a huge garden.
Very nice. I've heard Carmiel's beautiful.
Before COVID, we had a group of American and some from England volunteering in the army. So once a week, every Thursday, we used to go to army base here up north once a week. I also volunteer in a Shomer Hadash. That's an organization that helps farmers to watch their the crops and everything, because since we are surrounded by a lot of Arabs and Bedouin villages, so the farmers here are suffering from thievery, stolen fruit and vegetables. So once a month, or maybe sometimes twice a month, I volunteer watching at night, like from 8 o'clock at night until 6 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
Without weapons. And basically I'm one of the Gabaim in my shul. I help organize Suda Shlishit in the shul and Kiddushim before COVID. Now we don't have Kiddushim and we don't have Suda Shlishit. I also keep myself busy sometimes with the exams of high school exams and college. There's a college here that I proctor in. I'm watching in the classroom. Student wouldn't cheat on their exams. Let's keep myself busy.
So you
Keeping
like
myself
an
busy.
adjudicator. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
And basically that's it. Then we travel a lot. We planning to go in the end of the month to Arizona to visit our daughter and our granddaughter, which we didn't see them more than a year. They were supposed to come here for Pesach, April 1st, but they canceled the flight because of the pandemic.
Well, hopefully you'll get to see them soon.
We're very
Amen.
Thank you so much. So
You're
we're gonna have questions at the end, but we need to keep moving on. Shlomo, how are you doing? And Karen,
Excellent,
you're on
dear.
separate
Excellent.
Zooms. Okay. So, okay, would you like to introduce yourselves?
Yeah,
I'll go to your Zoom.
sure. Karen's gonna move over.
Let me mute you.
Hold on one second. Okay, I guess I'll start. So we are Karen and Shlomo Stragano. We made Aliyah 7 years ago from Los Angeles, straight to Carmiel. Before we made Aliyah, we definitely explored, tons of communities. We just felt, because when we were moving, we had small kids, that the schooling here was just right for us. And you didn't want to be like in the Merkaz or in all the traffic and smog. And we come from LA, so we wanted just kind of a different tempo of life. We found Carmiel, thankfully, and been happy ever since.
Can you tell us a little bit about the education? You said you got little kids, so that would be, I know we had a lot of questions in our, people send me questions before the Zoom. Can you tell us about the education system in Carmiel?
Yeah, so the education here is great in general. There is something for everyone. For us specifically, we come from a more religious background setting, so we were looking for something, similar to our hashkafa. In terms of, for girls, there's one main school that I would say everyone in the Haredi community in Carmiel sent to. It's called Amichai. It's a great place. It's a warm place. The principal is warm. The teachers are warm. We haven't heard any real, bad things about the school. We have 2 daughters there now, and we're very happy with the, with what's going on there. In terms of the boys' school, there's your classic, if you're familiar with the Cheder system, the Cheder systems in Israel. There's a classic Cheder here, where the boys just focus on Torah. It's a great school. They focus on building the kids up with midos. Not so much secular studies, which kind of turned us off in the beginning, but there wasn't a real other option for us at the time. So we ended up sending our older son there. He's in 7th grade now. So we've kind of gone through almost the whole system there, and so far so good. It's not for everybody, for sure, but for the right person, it's a great school. Someone who's just looking for the kids to only focus on Torah, it's an amazing place. They opened up another school 4 years ago called Hafetz Chaim, a little bit more similar to the American style yeshiva system, where they focus on the secular studies as well as provide a very comfortable, rich atmosphere for spiritual growth there. And it was basically changed from another type of school that has been around for 25 years. So I won't speak about that because it's not applicable anymore. But the new school is different than the Cheder. It's a little bit more open, not as strict. And it's a little more focused on individual growth as opposed to systematic growth. I'll explain what I mean by that. The Cheder is built around a system. They're basically filtering out the kids to be a certain way. Hafetz Chaim is a little bit differently, where it kind of nurtures the kid more like, chinach your kid al pi darko, which means like, educate your kid the way your kid is. And I think that they focus a little bit more. The classes are a little bit smaller. So it's a great school as well. We have one kid that goes there as well.
And do your kids get picked up like how do they go to school? Like a hasda'a, or is there public transport? You drive them?
Right. So our kids, we're from LA. So,
You
we're kind
drive
of used to car. Yeah, we pretty much drive them, but we don't have to drive them. I mean, sometimes the walk to school is less than 10 minutes from our house. So sometimes they do walk, but, kids get tired in the afternoon when it's hot. So, when your kid looks at you with his, oogly eyes and says, Abba, why can't you come pick me up? It's hot. I mean, how do you say, go walk, to the kid? So yeah.
And
So
have they adjusted in terms of the language? Oh, you came here how many years ago?
we came here 7 years ago. So our oldest kid was 5.5. He was a year before Kita Aleph. So for us, he was really the only, kid where, where it was, I guess you say, problematic. But it ended up being great. That first year he broke his teeth in Hebrew. And ever since then, it's, he's picked it up and, he's become a little Israeli. In our house, we speak only English because we don't want our kids to forget English. So their English is there, the Hebrew's there. We're trying to do the right thing.
And one last question, and I need to pass on to Rabbi Ephraim Schwartz, is do you a sense of community? Where do you go to shul? Where do you daven? Is there within the shul itself? Is it a community within itself?
Yeah. So the name of our shul is called Matan Nachliel. It's in the Robin neighborhood. It is a large congregation. It's a community-based shul. I would say the shul is the nusach of the shul is nusach Sfard, which is kind of like a blend of Sephardi and Ashkenazi together. It's a big mix of people there. You have Haredim, Sephardim, Ashkenazim, Hasidim. You have Dati Lumi there. I would say not just in Carmiel, but in Israel. It's a very unique shul. Most shuls are have some type of label on them. How people are there, but this shul is very open. It's very welcoming to Olim, especially. There's a group of Americans in the shul that kind of like a welcome community for Olim when they come in, set them up for Shabbos, get them acquainted, get their kids playing with other kids, really kind of, try to involve them in the community. That's been going on for about 3-4 years now, and we've had great success with that.
Amazing. Thank you so much for that. We're going to come back, I'm sure, for questions. I see some people are writing on the chat. Rabbi Ephraim Schwartz, thank you so much. You need to unmute yourself.
There we go. I'm good.
Hi, how are you?
Good, Baruch Hashem. How are you doing?
Good. Thank you so much. I know you have a very busy schedule, so thank you for coming on.
Actually, my schedule's not as busy. I just have something going on a little bit later tonight. Certainly not as busy as it used to be. But thank you, Kim, for arranging this and for all the great work that you're doing. A little bit about myself, my family. We moved here about 10 years ago. I'm originally a Detroiter in America, but I would say I went to more black hat yeshivas. I lived in New York for about 5 years, and then we did kiruv around the United States for about 15 years. We were in Iowa, Virginia, Seattle. So we really got a chance to see America and be Mekayim, being a wandering Jew in Gullahs before we find our way home here to Carmiel, where we moved. We moved here really because we were looking for more of what I would call an out-of-town community. I lived in New York for about 5 years, and I told my wife after 5 years I'd like to live in a place where, if God forbid I died in my apartment, somebody would know before the smell wafted out from underneath the doorwell. Looking to be part of a community really was really the way I was looking for. I was raised in a more of a smaller town like Detroit. We're looking to be part of a community, and we were looking for that type of place in Israel as well. One of my students at that time had mentioned to me Carmiel, and it sounded very nice up in the north, out of town, the beautiful Galil. And we came here to check it out, and we really fell in love with the city. Carmiel is actually, a lot of people aren't familiar a little bit about Carmiel. It's about the second largest city in the north of Israel population-wise, about 55 to 60,000 people in Carmiel, meaning it's bigger than Tzvat, Tveria, Akko, Nahariya, some of these other cities that are more famous. But as opposed to those cities that are built over hundreds of years, Carmiel is really a city that's a relatively new city, about 50 years old, that's a planned city, which means that it's spread out. You have houses, parks almost every 3 blocks or so. There's a guy that comes with a broom every single morning and broom sweeps every single street of the city. So It's a very clean city, aesthetic. The demographics of Carmiel are about 90%, I would say, not from non-religious people. The 10% that are religious, from what I understand, about half are Sephardi, half are Ashkenazi. Of the Ashkenazi, I would say half are Haredi and half are Dati Le'umi. But that being said, the religious community is being such a minority in this city, yet it's at the same time, it's a city that probably the only place in Israel that I know of where you'll have schools where you would have Haredi kids, Dati Le'umi kids, Ashkenazi kids, and Sephardi kids all in the same girls' school that we have over here, or in the boys' school, in the Chavetz Chaim school, shall we say, that he was talking about, Shlomo. It's probably one of the only places where you have a Haredi kollel of 150, 200 guys that sit and learn Torah all day long, but on Simchas Torah, you'll see them dancing in the streets together with the Hesder Yeshiva boys. It's probably one of the only places where, my block is mostly not from, but when I go out to light my Hanukkah candles, most of my block will come out and they'll light candles with me and say, and they'll sing and dance with me. Or if I walk to shul, they'll put down their cigarette on Shabbos and say Shabbat Shalom Kvod Harav. As I said, the Haredi community is about 2.5% of the city, but the Sgan Rosh Ha'ir, the deputy mayor of the city, is a Haredi man. So again, you wouldn't find that, but it gives you a sense of a flavor where really everybody is very respectful, everybody gets along with one another, and you really have a nice sense of community. There are a lot of benefits over here that you don't have, where you have all the amenities of living in a large city. We have a huge mall, the big, with all types of shopping. We have makolets with all the from kosher products and this and that, the Haredi products, even the best hashkachas and stuff like that. And all of the amenities that you have of a big city. But at the same time, the people that live here are really a very close-knit community where everybody knows each other. People are helping each other. There's a kiddush. Sorry about that. Yeah, sorry. People are making cake for one another and joining in the kiddush and stuff like that. So you really have a sense that you're part of a community. I would say one of the most important things are the downsides. For some people of Carmiel might be the fact that there are not a plethora of English and American programs, that you would have in other communities, or even English and American speakers that you would have in other communities. I believe that it's essential for families that are moving here to learn Hebrew. If you're looking for a mini America, Beit Shemesh is probably a better bet for you, or Efrat or Modi'in, where you'll have all your American classes and English programs and organizations. You won't have that over here. But at the same time, your family can integrate and really be part of building a community that's very respectful and accepting. I have a shul that I started here about 10 years ago, right after we moved here. It's called the Young Israel of Carmiel. And it's not a Young Israel in your typical sense. When I first started it, I was talking to the Young Israel. I told them I wanted to do something a little bit different. I said, like the Young Israel in America, it's not young and it's not Israel. It's more old America. So I was really thinking of a shul that was going to be more of a community shul that would bring together diverse members of the community. In fact, most of the Anglos that have moved here don't daven in my shul. I encourage them to go to other shuls so that they really could integrate in Israel. My shul is really more of a shtibel. We daven Nusach Svard. Friday night is Carlbach style. Shabbos morning, 9 o'clock Shachris, which is the latest in town. We have the Misha Berg for the state of Israel, for the art. Excuse me again. Somebody keeps calling in. I don't know what's going. I speak in Hebrew. I give my drasha in Hebrew, and we have a Cholent Kiddush every Shabbos after davening. Half my shul is Haredi Kollel guys, which is interesting because you wouldn't find that in most communities as well, because I walk around in shorts and a t-shirt half the summer, at least when I used to work as a tour guide before Corona. But yet it's a community that really accepts everybody and everybody joins. And they feel part of it. Well, I guess another benefit of the community is Another benefit of the community is as well that we see the housing over here. You get, it's gone up tremendously over the last 10 years. I think my house has probably doubled in value since we moved here, but you certainly still get a lot more bang for your buck than you would get in the Merkaz in the center of the country. We have Tamar Sobel here. She'll probably give you a better feel for the values. She's our real estate agent that helps most of the Olim here. But I can tell you that I bought my house, which is a 6-bedroom house, 3 floors, probably about 250, 260 meters. I have a 2-bedroom suite attached to it, a backyard, and I paid about 930,000 shekel for it 10 years ago. Today, it's probably doubled in value today. And again, I couldn't get a machsan in Yerushalayim for that.
I was going to say, you couldn't get a garage. That's what I was going to say to you for that price. Anyway.
Certainly, it's gone tremendously. It's more than doubled in the past 10 years, but I think it will continue to grow up to go in. This summer alone, we had about 8 Olim families that moved here to Carmiel already. And certainly lots more coming. So the community is growing and they have the resources to really take everything, to help out the families that are coming here and growing.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
That's great. We're gonna have to move on, but thank you so much. And if you need to go off, and if there's anybody that wants to be in touch with you, I will send you you can put your email on the chat if you would like.
Very easy. Schwartz at yahoo.com.
I didn't hear that.
Rabbi Schwartz said if my email is very easy, it's Rabbi Schwartz, RABBI Schwartz, SCHWARTZ at yahoo.com.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. So we're going to go on to Livnat. Hi, Livnat. How are you doing?
Hi. Hi, Kim.
Hi. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for organizing all this.
Where's the accent from?
Nowhere, actually. I was born here in Israel. I think I'm the only one in this conversation who was born here. So excuse me for my bad English.
Great. We love having Israelis on the call. Okay.
Yeah.
Did you grow up in Karmiel?
No, I didn't. I grew up actually in the south of Israel, in Beersheba. And we came here to Carmiel 5 years ago.
Why did you choose to come to Karmiel?
It was job related actually, but we fell in love with this place.
I have to interfere for a second. I'm Israeli too.
Oh, right. Right.
Oh, you probably realize from my accent.
So Livnat, you have children that go into the school system?
Right, yes.
Where do you send your children to school?
Yes, I send them to a school called Moria, which is the Leumi Torani scientific school. A very good school, an amazing staff of teachers, very warm teachers, and also the level of the Torani studies there is very high. Also, the level of the secular studies is very good. Also, so it was a really good combination for us to send our kids to.
Is that an elementary school or high school as well?
It's elementary school. High school we sent to Amit here in Carmiel. It's also a Dati Leumi school for girls and boys separate classes. Also a very good school. We are very pleased with the education system.
And how did you become friends with all the Anglos?
I don't know. I have an attraction to Olim Chadashim. I sort of admire them, and I try to help them in any way I can. So yeah, I got in touch with them somehow.
Do you work?
I work in Haifa University, and also I work part-time in Amutat Mi Bereshit, which is also a community here in Carmiel that we belong to. It's a very warm community. Everyone is like family. We have a lot of Olim, Baruch Hashem, in our community from all around the world, from Mexico, Brazil, England, just name it, from everywhere. So in our Kiddushim, in the shul, we hear Spanish, English, French, all the languages are mixed, and it's beautiful. It's great.
Thank you so much. Tell me, what's the shul's name, the synagogue that you go to?
The synagogue name is, we daven in a shul. It's inside a mid school.
Okay.
And the community is Mibereshit, so it's kind of Mibereshit shul.
Okay, very nice.
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much. Nat, thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Nat, can you hear me?
Yes. Oh,
No, I'm not leave Nat. Nat,
Okay.
Toma. You need to unmute yourself. Hold on one second.
Tamar.
Oh, there you are. Hi.
Yeah, I'm here. I told you I was going to be kind of multitasking this evening.
It's okay. No problem.
Okay. I
Thank
can't
you for
answer.
coming on. I didn't know if you were going to make it tonight. So thank you for making the effort to come on.
I'm trying to do two things at the same time, and they say only women can do that. I don't know. Anyway, I think I have a few distinctions here, with all due respect to Eli Kripor. I've got a few years on him. I'm in Israel for 43 years, 40 of them in Carmiel.
Wow.
Raised two kids in Carmiel who are unfortunately not in Carmiel anymore. I can't really speak to the school system today. A lot has changed since my kids were in school way back when. Some of the questions that I saw asked on the chat, transportation, do you need a car? No, I have one. It was a matter of choice. I guess you could say I can afford it, and I just enjoyed the luxury of having it out there when I need it. I have an internal bus that runs right down my street. I have another internal bus a short block away. I can walk from my house to, it's about 15 minutes walk, where I can get the Jerusalem bus. I think the Tel Aviv bus goes past there as much as there's a Tel Aviv bus. Pretty much you can get anywhere, in town, out of town, all over the country without a car. You really don't need a car. Somebody had a question?
No, it's just echoing. I'm just muting people.
Okay.
Okay, no problem.
I just want to make a comment. For 20 shekel, you can ride the bus and the train all over Israel. If you're a senior citizen, Vatik. Right? 20 shekel. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
And Matt, you walk to our shul, and you're pretty far away.
I walk to your shul when the temperatures are not the way they've been the last
Not like today.
So Nat, where do you come from? Where were you born?
I come from the U.S. Grew up in the D.C. Baltimore area, but I haven't lived there in a lot of years. As I said, I'm in Israel for 43.
Yeah. Somebody's asking how long it takes on a public transport.
I saw it. From let's say, give or take, anywhere along the route of the 968, that's the Carmiel Jerusalem direct bus. Just about anywhere along that route within town. And assuming not undue traffic, on the highways, not rush hour on the highways, it typically does the trip in an hour and 15, hour and 20. Sorry, 2 hours 15, 2 hours 20.
2 hours and 15 minutes.
Okay.
Okay.
The train, assuming you catch a morning train, you can do Jerusalem with just one stop and change, and that takes 2 hours and a half. Trains to Tel Aviv, I so rarely do it, but trains to Tel Aviv are probably, what, hour 45, 2 hours. There's not much for bus to Tel Aviv. The bus companies gave that up a long time ago. There's, I think, just one route that runs to Tel Aviv once or twice a day, and that's it. But we've got train. You can get from here to Tzfat, you can get to Ma'alot, you can get to Tiberias, Haifa, Akko, the Bay Area. You can get, and from there you can get anywhere in the country. You can get to Beersheba, you can get to Dimona if you want to. You know, there's really no place that you can't reach on public transportation.
Amazing.
Somebody asked the question earlier, how easy is it for a 60-plus-year-old to find a job? How easy is it for a 60-plus-year-old to find a job in New York City? Not easy, okay? Unless you're coming with a special profession. I have not a close friend, but a friend who made Aliyah a number of years ago, settled in Jerusalem. Why? She had a job before she got on the plane. Why? Her profession was internet security. Okay, and it didn't matter that she was over 60 years old. If your profession is something else, it'll be a little harder.
What about jobs in general? Is there jobs within the Carmiel community, within Carmiel itself, or are people commuting to places like Haifa and other close neighborhoods?
I can tell you historically. Okay, historically, they wanted to bring people to Carmiel. I'm going, way back when. Again, I'm here 40 years. They wanted to bring educated people. They wanted to bring engineers, professionals, all sorts of things like that. But they brought industry that hired, menial labor. So historically, people left Carmiel to work. There is some high-tech work in Carmiel. Obviously, there's work for teachers. There's work for physicians, for lawyers, accountants, Israeli accountants, that is. There's work here in town. It depends who you are. It depends what your profession is.
Great. Thank you so much. Okay, I'm going to ask, is Abigail. Hi, Abigail.
Hi.
Thank you so much. You're waiting so patiently. I'm sorry. I'm trying to get to everybody.
I'm enjoying. It's so nice to see all these Americans.
Where are you from?
Originally from LA, but I made Aliyah when I was 12, so I've been here for a while now.
How was it coming to Israel at that age? A lot of people ask me, coming with teenagers.
Well, it depends, I think, where you make Aliyah to. We made Aliyah to Tveria, so it was a little hardcore. There were no Americans. So on one hand, it was hard because I was the only American, but we learned Hebrew in 3 months. Me and my brother, we were 2 kids, and in 3 months we were speaking Hebrew.
Wow.
Because we didn't have a choice. It was either, speak or die. So we spoke.
Did you make friends easily? Was it a very hard transition for you and your brother?
For me, it was harder. I was older. I was 12. He was 9. It took me time, but it took around like a year and a half before I think I could develop, the vocabulary and just kind of open up and make friends. But I went on to high school in Tveria, the Ulpanit, and it was amazing, and I made a lot of friends. And by then I really integrated, and I was Israeli by then.
And what made you choose to come to Carmiel?
So my husband is studying in the college here. He's studying to be an engineer. We were living in Atlit before, and we decided that it would just be easier to come to Carmiel. And it was kind of just a blind move. We thought that that was just, we wanted to be close to the college, and it's just been a great choice. We really enjoy living here.
Are you part of any particular community?
Yes, I'm friends with Livnat. I'm part of the Mibereshit community. It's wonderful, very warm, very a lot of different people from different backgrounds. Like she said, a lot of Olim. Moving to Tveria and just kind of experiencing the America to, 100% Israeli. I was so surprised when I came to Carmiel to see how many Americans and how many Olim from, all over. And it was a shock to me, and it was very nice. And it's very, I'm trying to find the word in English. But there's a lot of different people from different backgrounds. And it's just a really, really sweet community, very warm. They just took us in with open arms, and I felt like I had friends right away, and it was a very easy transition.
Thank you so much. Gershon Steinberg, hello.
Hi, how are you?
Good. Again, thank you for your patience for waiting on the call.
My pleasure. Sorry I came a couple of minutes late. I was actually in a seminar. I'm Rabbi Gershon Steinberg. I made Aliyah directly to Carmiel 4 years ago in 2016 from Brooklyn, New York. And I'm 60. We were talking about people getting jobs at 60. And I'm an educator and a social worker, and I'm currently working full-time in a special ed school called Mechona Roach Dilim. It's in the process of changing its name. We were talking a little bit about Rabin. There's another big religious community called Dromit. I don't live in either of those. I was looking for a house that Tamar Sobel helped me find with 4 bedrooms, because someone mentioned that their child had come 10 years before them. So my son came to Israel after high school and never left. And he got married, and he's living in Beit Shemesh, and thank God he's given us 5 grandchildren. So we needed a place with 2 bedrooms for my wife and myself and our 19-year-old son who we brought with us. And for my son to come up, we need another couple bedrooms for him and his wife and his kids. So I didn't find those at the time when we were looking to rent in Rabin or in Dromit. So we live in an area called Maravit. And it's really great. We haven't regretted it at all. The houses are much more spacious. Just like we were talking about in Yerushalayim, how little you get for how much, you get much more in Maravit. We have a 3-story house with a front yard big enough for our sukkah and a backyard that's really beautiful. It's like a garden/forest, and we really enjoy it. We were looking to be in Israel, specifically up north, where it's green, where it's clean, where it's quiet, a slower lifestyle. I grew up in LA, and my wife grew up in New York City, and we wanted a kind of an out-of-city experience. And even though, as Rabbi Schwartz said, there's over 50,000 people here, it doesn't feel like it. You can drive, a couple of people mentioned LA. LA, you have to have a car. It's just such a spread out place. In Carmiel, I can drive anywhere from one end of Carmiel to the other in 8 minutes. So even though there's a lot of people and it is comfortably spread out, the way they designed the city, everything is extremely accessible. In fact, the school that I work in is in the Azor Ta'asiyah, in the industrial area, and I have no problem getting there from the residential area. It's really a pleasure. Just a couple things, I guess, that are unique about me or my situation. Because I came with a 19-year-old, he went into the Army a year and a half later. So my son is still in the Army. Never thought that I would have a son in the Army. But it's been an amazing experience for him, given him tremendous structure and focus, and he's able to get out of the house at 5:20 in the morning. If I told that to anybody back in New York, they would be laughing for hours, but he does it himself, and it's really been amazing for him. One thing people didn't speak about is the variety of different activities. Shlomo was on earlier. I haven't been able to make it since we started with COVID, unfortunately, but we play basketball on Saturday night. Rabbis, Shlomo is a lawyer and a trader, and there's all kinds of people that come together that are religious, not religious. Tamara's husband plays. I mean, it's a very nice, wonderful thing that brings us together. Similar to Rabbi Schwartz mentioning that he came and he started a Young Israel, I went to the closest non-Sephardi shul, that's mostly Maravit, is Sephardi, was what was originally known as the Russian shul, and that's under the auspices of Moshe Steinberg. That was my closest walk. It was like 18 minutes there. But they didn't have a weekly minyan. So I helped them start a 6 o'clock minyan. Now it's turned into a 7 o'clock minyan. But I really felt like I made a difference helping start a minyan. And my wife, there's a couple of ladies here, Karen and Sipora, and I think I saw somebody else who's in a chabura that the ladies started together. I think it's on Wednesdays, learning together and spending time. And it's really been very nice. It's been great for my wife in terms of helping her for integration. And I think it's been good for all of the women connecting with each other in general on a social level. I think in particular under the auspices of learning together and growing together. We also started recently, within the past year, an English-speaking Daf Yomi that is taught by Rabbi Berzon. And there's always new things that are starting. Rabbi Berzon and Tamar's husband, Rabbi Sobel, started, again, it's on hold because of COVID, but they started a community Shabbatonim for the Olim / Anglo community. It's been phenomenally successful over the past 2-3 years and really made a big difference in terms of helping Olim integrate. In fact, that's where my wife met most of the women that are in the learning group. And there's just a tremendous feeling of working together and community. Kind of as Rabbi Schwartz mentioned, whether you're Haredi or Dati Leumi or Sephardi or Ashkenazi, he didn't mention, or even whether you're Arab or Jewish. I've been here 4 years. I have yet to see any tension between the Jews and the Arabs. The Arabs wish me good Shabbos. I find some of the Arabs are some of the best doctors. It's really been an eye-opener for me, from what you hear in the media, to really see a comfortable interaction between Jews and Arabs. So those are my main points. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer afterwards also.
Thank you so much. Is Zipporah on the phone? I think she was on a call, Abram?
Yeah, she's here. She's here.
Oh, I didn't see. Oh, there you are. Hi, Zipporah. Hi.
Okay. Hi.
Hi.
So we made Aliyah from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, about 2.5, almost 3 years ago. And we had spent a month in Yerushalayim 2 years previous to that. And then we spent a month in Carmiel 1 year previous to that. And we liked the quietness of not being in Yerushalayim, the more calm than the big city. And also I found it easier to just physically to get around in Carmiel. The streets are smoother. There are walking paths all over. I just found it easier to maneuver in the city. And also we're originally from Northern California. So the Galil is, as we say, easy on the eyes. So that's how we moved here. My husband's a doctor, and he did have the job before we arrived. So I think it's a little the question of finding a job when you're 60 might be a little bit different if you're a doctor in the north. Is that true? Yep. If you're a doctor in the north, they need you. So, you know.
Which hospital are you working at? Hi.
I'm not working in a hospital. I'm working in outpatient medicine, Kupat Khalim.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I decided to give up hospital work after 30 years. I was tired of it.
So you work locally in Carmiel?
No, I work in Meron.
Oh, okay. How long does it take you to get there?
Depends on how I go. If I drive, it's about half an hour. But most days I actually take the bus. So I take my bicycle to the bus station, and then when I'm on the bus, I learn Shnai Mikra. So I'm using my time pretty efficiently. So it takes an hour, but I'm learning. And then on the way back, I ride my bicycle back from Meron to Carmiel. So that takes me about an hour and a half to ride back.
And how was it with your Hebrew? If you're practicing you practice in Hebrew, so you're English speaking. I mean, that's not difficult for you?
Well, I spoke Hebrew when I came. Learning the medical vocabulary was a little bit of a challenge. The biggest challenge was actually learning how to express myself in written Hebrew, learning how to type and write the way Israeli doctors write in Hebrew. So that was a little bit of a steep learning curve, but I'm over that now.
Amazing, really amazing. And Zipporah, are you working?
No, I am not. I am not. Like Karen Kripur was saying, there are opportunities to volunteer, but what I was starting to do, of course, stopped. I was going to volunteer in Agon, but even the more interesting part was my starting this group of women learning together, which started with, I just put out a message saying any women out there interested in doing something together. And I kind of listed off the things that I was interested in. And over time, what it has become is we spend half the time just socializing and the other half of the time we're learning. So it's been a great thing that for us to get together, created a real chevra, a real nice group of friends that we communicate at other times as well and ask each other questions and whatever. And that we're also really moving along and learning too. So that's a nice thing that we do together.
And you found it easy to make friends?
For me, it was making the friends through creating this group, really. I think in general, in the Frum community, it's easier for men to make friends because they're going to shul and meeting people there. But through Yaakov going to shul, then I met, more of the people who are going to Matan Nachliel. So yeah, we have made friends. I mean, I think that the close friends are other English speakers, but we have made friends with Israelis too. We are Israeli with other native Hebrew speakers.
Good for the Hebrew practice, yes. So thank you so much. We're going to come back. There are a few questions, and we've got Tamar, which we're going to get to, but I'm going to talk to Tamar at the very end because she is our real estate expert. A lot of people want to know about housing opportunities. But before we come to you, Tamar, and you have been so patient, I want to introduce everybody. For those of you who have been on my calls before, those of you who haven't, I work with an amazing organization called Olim Advisors, and Rafi is on the call tonight, who is who's one of the founders of this incredible organization. And anybody who's making Aliyah, I really think that their service is just amazing. And I'm going to hand it over to Rafi to tell you about what they do.
Thanks, Kim, and Shavua Tov, everyone. My name is Rafi Shulman. I actually made Aliyah twice. I made Aliyah as a kid many years ago from South Africa. We moved to Ramat Poleg and then lived in Rehovot for a while, and then moved to the States and lived in New Jersey for a long time, and then finally came back about 5 years ago with my wife and our 4 kids, and now we live in Hashmonaim, which is a small yishuv near Modi'in. About 4 years ago, my sister and I started Olim Advisors because we realized that making Aliyah is very challenging. I came back and I speak Hebrew fluently. I have family here. I had a job, and I still found that experience to be an overwhelming experience. And so my sister and I met up with Nefesh B'Nefesh and asked them if they felt that there was a need for an organization like ours to help people make Aliyah. And they said that they felt that there was, and it's not something that they're focusing on. And that was really the birth of Olim Advisors. We typically start working and helping people anywhere from 6 months to a year before they make Aliyah. A lot of times people don't know where they want to move to. They've had this dream for many years that they want to make Aliyah, but they don't know if they want to live up north, they want to live down south in Merkaz. They don't know where they want to live, they don't know how to go about it, and the process can be pretty overwhelming. And so what we do is we really get to know them, and we find out what they're looking for, we find out what their kids' needs are, what their needs are, and then we try and help them come up with a plan. It could be from finding a community, finding a home, figuring out what they should pack. Should they bring a car? Shouldn't they bring a car? And so typically we kind of support them in that period before Aliyah. And then once they get here, as everybody knows, it can be really challenging to adjust. And so we go with them to the bank to open up a bank account. We'll go with them to Misrad HaKlita, Misrad HaPnim, and really transform an experience that for many people is a frustrating experience, an intimidating experience. And literally within a matter of a few days, we help them get set up with the utilities. As probably everyone knows, dealing with Bezek is not the funnest thing to deal with. So we really help them go through that entire process. And then on a day-to-day basis, signing up for a Kupat Cholim, finding a doctor, translating emails and mail, and just really helping them navigate life in Israel and adjust. And typically we will support people for 6 months to a year. One of the things that I really found eye-opening with this experience is that a lot of people do go to the main cities. You talked about Bet Shemesh, Amar Bet Shemesh, Yerushalayim, Modi'in, but there are people that are looking for out-of-town experiences. And I'd heard of Carmiel, but I really didn't know much about it. And so now, being on the Zoom call really has opened my eyes to an option that a lot of people should consider when people are looking at, in fact, we have a couple from Atlanta that wants to buy a home in Israel. They're not looking yet to make Aliyah, but they don't necessarily want to live in one of these main cities. They want to live in an area that there's, it's more rural, there's more parks and bikes paths and things like that. And so now Carmiel is going to be on that list of, here's maybe a different option that you should consider. And so really, the purpose of me just being on the call is really just to introduce myself. If there's anybody on the call that is thinking about making Aliyah, I really encourage you just to reach out to me. I'm happy to talk to you, talk about the process, help you come up with a plan, because very often that's the hardest thing is figuring out the plan. And then once you figure out the plan, things kind of fall into place. We have a really useful pre-Aliyah checklist on our website, olimadvisors.com. So if anybody wants to go to the website and you can just download that will help you kind of get a sense of what you need to do. And I'll put my contact information in in the chat here. So please just help us spread the word. Again, it's it's my sister and I, and we have a team of amazing people, and we work with amazing people like Kim and Vora, who's in the call as well. And really our goal is, well, really two goals. One is to help people get here, and then once they get here, to help them settle happily and quickly so that they stay here. So I want to thank everybody here that has, that has shared your time and really contributed to the conversation. And if anyone has any questions about the Aliyah process, or if there's specific challenges that you're dealing with, please don't hesitate to reach out to me, and I'll be happy to help you in any way that I can. Thanks, Kim.
Thank you so much, Rafi. When I partnered with Rafi and Laura, I had such a passion. I really feel, and this is for me how I sell real estate, and this is how I believe everybody looking to come to Israel. It's not just a house. When you find a community, that's when you find your home. And I think that's, for me, that's very, very important. And I have, people are calling me from all over the world, and I really try and work with everybody's criteria and what they're looking for. Rabbi Steinberg, I think you mentioned that you work in a special needs school. There's so many people with different needs and different desires and wants, and even we're going to cross over to Tamar now. It's like, what kind of housing? For me as well, a lot of people ask me to do different communities, but I always say if there's not enough housing opportunities available, I'm not going to cover the area, because one of the things I want to be able to offer to people on this call is opportunities. And you can't offer an area or a community if there's nowhere to go, if the housing's very expensive, or there's not enough housing available in that community. So Tamar, you come very highly recommended. And I'd like you to just introduce yourself and a little bit about, I don't know if you're from Carmiel, but tell us about yourself and a little bit about the market, the real estate opportunities in the area.
Okay, so I moved to Carmiel 11 years ago. We were the first Americans here. And we came because my husband grew up in Israel, and he had two sisters who live in Carmiel. And they told us, come to Carmiel, we wanted to move to Yerushalayim, of course, and don't go there, it's too big, it's going to be too hard for you. Carmiel is a good place, and they were right. Really, we're here 11 years. My kids grew up here, and they became Israeli and became integrated. And a very, very beautiful place, and I'm very, very happy we came. And the community has really grown. Now, what is nice about Carmiel, I think this is part of the reason that it's grown, is that there are all types of housing here, really all types. It's a very well-planned city. You have apartment buildings, two-family houses. You have large buildings, 8-story buildings with apartments that start out at like 750 to 800,000 shekels for a 90-meter apartment. That's a 3-bedroom, a nice starting place for a young family. And you have smaller buildings, garden apartments. You have two-family houses with units that you could rent out for income. You have private houses. A private house on a half a dunam property is somewhere between 2.5, between 2 million and 2.5. Something more on the upper end would be up to 3 million, maybe 3. I mean, we're not talking about very, very. It's expensive, but it's not crazy expensive. We're talking about private houses that are 220 meters. 7, 8 bed, large houses. So that's there are plenty of private homes. Because Carmiel is at the point where it's getting a little older, okay? What I mean older, it's about 50 years old or so, a little bit more, almost 60. So you have a lot of houses, people who built these big houses who are getting older and they can't take care of these houses, and they are selling these houses. So there are houses on the market, private houses, which is I think what a lot of Americans are looking for, bigger homes. If that's what people are looking for, then it is here, and it's within close walking distance to the other kind of housing, which is apartments or garden apartments or smaller houses, which are more affordable. And this is why I think this community here is able to develop, because you can have a mix. It's not like some places we have all the fancy houses in one neighborhood and, you know, the lower income housing in another neighborhood, and nobody has anything to do with each other. Here, everything is really enmeshed. You can have a block where you have apartment buildings, and then, you know, a few steps over, you'll have a street with private houses right next to it. And everything is within walking distance to the school or to the shul. So this, you know, in the Rabin area, for example, you have where the shul is, you have, it's an area, Rabin is apartment buildings. It's what we call Bnuya Ruya, which is, you know, apartment buildings and small cottages, smaller units. And then right across the street, you have Makosh, which is the private houses, and everything is very close, close walking distance. So you have a variety of housing, and it's all very close to each other. So you can have different people with different income levels living together in one community. And that's not like a yeshuv where everybody has a private house. You can have also, you know, people who are living in apartments together with people who are living in private houses. So there are plenty of opportunities. The Maravit section, which I think is the next big thing, I'm very hopeful that it will develop. The Maravit has a lot of houses, which are big houses, and you know, there aren't. It's an older neighborhood, and it's a very good neighborhood there aren't that many religious people there, and I would love to see more religious people going into the Maravit, because I think there's a lot of 6-room apartments, duplexes, garden apartments, 140, 150 meters, private houses, 2-family houses. We're talking about, you know, the private houses are 200 to 300 meters, you know, big houses. Right now it's a little bit empty in terms of the Anglo-religious community, however you want to, you know, call it. And I would love to see more people moving in there.
Tamar, excuse me. I think you could also add that in Rabin, right across the street from the supermarket, they're in the process of building a whole big complex of apartments for rent. Not usually something that you see here.
Right. That was the other thing I wanted to mention, that I think it's a problem in general in Israel. It's definitely a problem in Carmiel that we have an issue with the rentals, that there aren't enough rentals available. Most Israelis buy. The thing in Israel to buy. This is a very, very good project. It's building. It's not a very big project, but at least it's something where you have, you know, they're building a rental property in Rabin. You can go on a waiting list. They have no idea how much it's going to cost yet. I went there several times to try to find out. Right now, they're just building the building, and they probably know the prices only in a year or so, because it's still in the beginning stages. But that is very exciting. The rentals of these long-term rentals. Usually rentals here are 1 year to 2 years, and then the landlord tells you, well, I want to move back into the house. My brother wants to move into the house. I want to sell the house. I want this. I want that. It's very difficult to get a long-term rental here. I don't know if this is true also in the Merkaz, but here it's definitely a big problem, the long-term rental situation.
There's definitely more opportunity in the bigger cities, like Tel Aviv and Jerusalem. There's an abundance of rentals available. And I think just, again, it all depends on where you're going to be in Jerusalem, because it can be very expensive. What would you say an average, like a house, what would that rent for if it did come on the market for renting?
Probably around 6,000 shekel a month, plus Arnona and utilities.
Okay.
But the problem is it's very hard. There aren't too many rentals, you know, especially houses, because usually people are, you know, want to sell their house in order to buy something else. So it's very hard.
I think that for people who want to come to Carmiel to see if they're happy here, I think that those apartments are going to be very useful, because you can rent an apartment, let's say, for a year, get the feel of the city, get the feel of how you like it here. And then if you like it, then you look for something more permanent to buy. But I think that this could be a very good option for people who are, you know, just checking us out.
To check out, you could find an apartment to rent for a year. The problem is usually for the long-term rentals, which is what, you know, when people come, not everybody can afford to buy. So there are people who are looking to rent. It's not like in America where you could live in your house and rent for 30 years and, you know, stay there.
Mm-hmm.
Here it's a problem.
Can I give my house as an example?
Yeah. Your house.
So I'm in I mentioned a 3-story house with 5 bedrooms, and I'm paying $3,900 a month, 3,900 shekel, which is I don't think it's really comparable.
And today we wouldn't be able to get that.
I'm thrilled, and we're very happy.
We were
And
very lucky. We were very lucky. We found someone who's not interested. He wants to rent it out, and that's it. Problem is that they're very rare. The rentals for houses, very hard.
What I want to say is well, last week we had an amazing webinar on how to buy a house in Israel. If anybody would like me to share the link with you, we had our mortgage broker, our financial advisor, who deals with mortgages, and our legal advisor, our real estate lawyer on this call, and Rafi and Laura on the call. I'm happy to send that link to everybody if you'd like to listen to that as well. Because what people coming on for the first time, you need to know in Israel, on top of your closing, you have your closing costs if you are interested in purchasing. So you need to add on another between 5 to 8% on top of your closing costs. So it depends if you're buying an Israeli or as an Olim or as a foreigner. But we can talk about that later on. Tamar's going to send, you can contact Tamar through me, or Tamar can put up her phone number on the chat and her email address. I very much work with people that come to me with good references. So it's always very good in this business because, and I tell all my clients this, you can go onto all these websites and there's loads of brokers and there's loads of different real estate agencies, but it's very hard to navigate these sites. Sometimes they're not always in English, but more importantly, they don't always give you accurate listings. So a lot of the times, unfortunately, there'll be a lot of these websites promoting properties that are actually being sold already, which is incredibly frustrating for people. So Tamar comes with a very good reputation, and I'm happy to pass on the information for anybody who is looking to rent or purchase in Carmiel as well. We were going to share some of your listings, but it didn't happen tonight. So you can be in touch with Tamar.
I'm sorry, I just was out until very late.
Okay, no problem. What I want to do is, it's already on 1 hour and 20 minutes, and I know people have got things to do. First of all, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for everybody for coming on. And I really appreciate it. It sounds like a very special community. I actually was when I first came to Israel when I was 18, I came on a kibbutz, which was called Kibbutz Yasur, which is about not far from Carmiel. So I did come up there, and I was just blown away by the beauty of the place because it's so green and luscious and gorgeous. So if people are looking for that really like outdoor experience and lots of green, then I think Carmiel is an amazing place to come. And also the people sound amazing. So, and it sounds like really a melting pot of different types of people, which I think is very special as well. And I think it's a good place people could really find themselves in this community. So I want to open up for questions. And again, anybody who wants to send this link to their friends, family, thinking about Aliyah, thinking about Carmiel as an option, I'm happy to send it on. So I'm going to open it up to the floor. And again, anybody who has to sign off, thank you again for coming on. And next week, we're going to be doing Haifa. Okay.
Very much.
So much. I'm on the line. If anybody wants questions, I can ask some of the Carmiel people to stay on just for a few more minutes. Are there any questions? Just unmute yourself and you can ask. Is Rachel on the call? She always asks about health food stores.
I just have a quick question. There is. There's a place called Kesem HaTeva. It's in the industrial area. And I think there's also a health food store in Lev Carmiel, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, there is.
There are Kesem HaTeva for sure. Nitzata Duvdevan, also in the industrial area.
Ah, yes,
yes.
yes.
The big Schufersaal out in whatever that mall is called, opposite Big. They've got a large health department. You can get health foods in just about every supermarket here besides
I
that.
don't know if she's on the call, but she was.
How about organic food?
There are sections in this. I know in the Schufersaal, there is a section that has organic stuff.
Like 2 or 3 aisles.
Not necessarily. I'm sorry.
2 or 3. Are we saying about the health organic foods? Somebody asked on the chat, and I don't think we addressed it. The community center, or I don't know, facilities there. Is there a swimming pool?
Yes.
Yes.
Is they have tennis there, and in the summertime there's a wonderful, wonderful dance festival every summer. Of course, this summer not. But it's a wonderful, wonderful festival, and they use that whole area, the whole area around the country club, and there are all kinds of different dance groups that come to dance, people that come to see. There's a wonderful show every night. It's beautiful. It's really special.
The swimming pool that they have is actually, they have separate hours in the and they have separate hours in the sub from Pesach till actually I think today was the last day. They have like 2 hours men, 2 hours for women, so they have separate swim available there as well. This summer with Corona, they actually did the outdoor pool, and it was open the entire summer. Also for certain days were men, certain days were women. We're also very close. We're living here about 20 minutes from the beaches in Akko, so we don't lack for for distance to get out to the beach and stuff like that either. But there's a lot of those types of events that are here as well.
What about swimming in the winter time? My wife is a swimming junkie. That's why I'm asking.
They have an indoor pool.
They have an indoor pool. It's an indoor pool and it's an indoor club. They don't have separate hours though during the year.
And I believe they have classes there too.
Thank you.
It's like a gym. It's a gym, basically.
So what kind of classes, Karen, did you say?
I think there's like an aerobics class, I think, in like water aerobics and things that I haven't been there. I should be going there, but I don't. But it sounds very nice.
Is it expensive?
I couldn't tell you, but I don't think that it is.
Are there any other classes like for adults around art classes, martial arts kind of things?
Good question.
I mean, this is a large.
There are Pilates. There are Pilates. There are also 1 or 2 gyms that you can go to. There's somebody that I know who does. She has her own method, belly breathing exercise, and she has her own studio. But there are, you can find.
This is a very large city, so there's really a lot. Anything that you would find in any major city, they have over here. So, we may not be familiar with all of those different things, but, it's really a large city that has anybody that can open up a gym or karate or martial arts or yoga or Zumba. I know that they have all of those things here at different places in the city.
They do. Also in Misgav, which is very close, it's very close to get to. There are a lot of things that go on there.
This is for Tamar.
Is it called Carmiel Country? What is it called? The community center?
Top Club.
Top Club. TOPCLUB.
Top Club. Jessica, Top Club.
What is it
Somebody
called?
wrote it in the chat.
Club. Google it. Carmiel.
Tamar, could you tell us how old the houses are, the private homes that are available, please?
Did she hear? Tamar?
Yes, I'm sorry.
No problem. Jessica was asking, what's the price of, in the older neighborhood we spoke about, where I think Rav Gershon lives? I think that's.
Actually, the question is how old?
How
How
old
old
are the properties?
The private
Yeah,
homes.
private homes.
There are private houses, all types of different ages. I mean, the oldest neighborhood in Carmiel, the Meyakdim, is about 50 to 60 years old. Then you have the Dromit, which is 30 to 40 years old. But there are houses there that are younger. There are houses that are 20 years old also, 20, 25 years old. And then you have the newer neighborhoods of Makosh, where you have houses between 25 years old to new. There's houses that were built just now. They're projects that were, 3-4 years old. So there's really a big, now the older neighborhood in Maravit, those houses, the big private houses that I said were older houses, are about 40 years old, 30 to 40 years old.
And everything needs renovation, right?
The older houses need renovation, yeah. But they
There's
have
also
lots,
Givat
you
Ram.
have to take into account also that as time goes on, they release less and less land. The lots today that they release are not as big as they used to. For example, in the Drumiyah and Haprachim, by the nature, there's a nature reserve right through Carmiel to Nachal Achilazon. It's a I don't know, it's not a river, it's sort of like a stream that goes through a valley. And you have on one side of it a nature reserve where they're not going to build. So it's a beautiful mountain, gorgeous mountain view. And you have houses that are right on the edge, overlooking this valley. And there the lots are 600 square meters.
Wow.
Or even more, even some of them are even 650. Huge lots and houses that are old, but they're, 230 to 250 square meters to houses, okay? So today, for example, when they give you a lot, and then there are lots that are half a dunam, which is 500 square meters. But today when they release the lots, they're like half the size. To get a lot that's half a dunam today is rare. You don't have that anymore. The new land that they're releasing, they're building a whole new neighborhood in Carmiel. That's going to be 3,000 units, 3,000 new units on the edge of Givat Ram, which is a neighborhood that's at the edge of town. But it's mostly going to be buildings, and there are going to be a few lots, but they're not going to be half a dunam lots. They're going to be small lots of 250 to 300 square meters. So as time goes on, when they do release land, they're not releasing these, the private houses is, I think it's true in all of Israel, the same story. Also in the Mitzvim, also in the Yeshuvim around Carmiel, there are several Yeshuvim, which are Yeshuvim Kihilatim. They're a community, they're like, they're not agricultural communities, they're residential communities. And there, most of the lots are 500 square meters per lot, okay? And now when they have the Ben Mamshich, they're releasing more land to build on, but they're not releasing 500 meters anymore. Now they're releasing smaller lots. So as time goes on, those lots of, 600, 650 square meters per lot, that's becoming very rare. So there is an advantage of buying a house, an older house, even though you have to renovate it. You're getting much more land, and you're getting a bigger house and a lot more land.
Could you say again what the name of the community? Sounds amazing with the mountain view and the huge homes.
You're right up against the where you're right up against the nature reserve. What's the name of that community?
Well, there's a street called Haprachim, but also in Makosh you have this vadi going through the whole Carmiel, okay, through a large part of Carmiel. So in the Dromit you have parts of it, and also in Makosh you have parts of it. The big lots are in the older neighborhood, which is the Dromit, okay, and that's Haprachim. Rehov Haprachim is where you find it. We just sold a house like this. We just sold a house, by the way. Believe it or not, we just sold a house on Haprachim to a family of Olim from New Jersey, They bought it on video,
Wow.
but they couldn't come. They couldn't come. And they decided that they didn't want to wait. They didn't want to miss this house. And they were very happy when they got here. They were very excited because it really is a beautiful, beautiful.
That's what's happening in the market right now, is that I'm doing the same as Tamar, is I've got now 2 deals in contract with clients that have never seen the property before. They've seen it on my WhatsApp and on my Zoom, and so if
we didn't have a choice. We didn't have a choice. We didn't have a choice.
If you know the location and you feel safe with it and you have enough people maybe that you know in the community, I think that that's, you know, okay to do.
They had friends who recommended them the place, the town, and after, you know, lots of pictures and videos, and they saw that, you know, this was an opportunity. You know, that I don't know, you know, how often will a house like this come up? So
can I ask you a question? I get this a lot. What would you say an average 3-bedroom apartment, let's say a standard apartment, I know what it costs in Jerusalem. Let's say an apartment, decent condition, move in, 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms,
an elevator. With a balcony, it would be more the newer building. So that would be more like Rabin. I would say, let's say for 1.2 million, you could get a very beautiful apartment.
Wow.
A nice size of 3-bedroom apartment with a balcony.
In a good location?
1.2 to 1.3 max. Now, you can also get cheaper. You could get cheaper. You could get even, like I said, even for $750 or $800, you could get the basic, simplest model. And they're actually pretty roomy, but they don't have a balcony. But for a young couple, young couples who are, you know, just starting out, and this is their first house, it's a very good apartment. It's an apartment that you could definitely live in for a nice couple of years, even the first 10 years, you know, raise young children in it. There's a nice living room, nice big kitchen, large bedrooms. It's a very comfortable apartment, even the one for 800.
What about a garden unit? Something with a garden.
A garden unit, it depends, you know, again, where. They're more expensive, the gardens, because there are less of them. I'm throwing a number between 1.3 and 1.7. Okay, the range. Sometimes you can get something cheaper if it's a garden that's not rashum b'tabo, if it's not really attached, it's not really registered the garden, but it's next to a garden, and with the permission of the neighbors and the area, you got, you know, permission for use of the garden. So that would be a little cheaper.
What I want to educate people on in terms of real estate language is that in Israel, they sell rooms. And rooms, if they're saying to you, and you look on the internet and you're looking up listings, 4 rooms, it means 3 bedrooms plus a living room and salon. Okay, it's very important. We also, everything's in square meters, not in square feet. And I always advise people, you're looking at floor plans or Tamar's sending you listings, you don't know the size, take out a tape measure and measure in your own house what something looks like. You know, visualize the size. It's hard to do. So take a tape measure, do it in your bedrooms, see what the actual size is. And also in Israel, we price, real estate used to be priced in US dollars. It's not anymore. It's only priced in shekels. All transactions will be done in shekels. That's just important to know, because a lot of clients want to, you know, pay somebody in America. They don't always want that now. The dollar's unfortunately not as strong anymore. The shekel's doing very well. So,
another thing that you have to know also is that you have to figure out how you're going to transfer the money from the United States to Israel. It's not so simple because of all these laws that came up recently. You may check out, you know, where the money's coming from, and you have to prove that you're buying a house and where it's coming from, where it's going to. You have to also prepare before, you know, signing a contract. You have to really prepare to know how long it'll take to get the money here, and you know, that sometimes takes some time.
I can help people with that as well, so don't worry. I have access to people who can help with that. Any more questions? So I think we're going to end off. I just want to say thank you so much. Stay safe, everybody. And again, thank you to Carmiel for amazing Zoom call. And I've got to come up and visit. I haven't been there in more than 20 years. So
everybody who comes says, oh, it's so beautiful here. Wow. Wow. There's those flowers everywhere and parks everywhere. It really is a beautiful place. It really is.
Thank you, Kim. Thank you, everybody.
I also just wanted to mention one thing, that we have also in our community have had people come for a Shabbat. And what we do is they usually sleep, actually by me, because I don't have any little kids. And then they do all the meals like Friday night and Shabbat lunch and then Suda Shlishit and other families, so that they get to know some people in the community. And so we've been doing that as well. I just wanted to let anybody know that if they're interested in coming, that we'll be more than happy to host you.
Thank you so much. And again, if everybody's okay with me sharing emails, let me know personally, send me a message saying you can give out my information. I don't do it without your permission. So please let me know if you're okay, if anybody wants your information, that you're okay with me giving it out to people.
I'm just, I don't know, I can't figure out how to put my so I'm leaving it to you.
After this call tomorrow, we send out a link to the Zoom.
Okay. I'm leaving it up to you.
I will send out the information to everybody.
Okay.
Thank you so much, everybody. God bless you all and have a great
Bye. Bye.
Thank you. Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Hang on just to end off. If anybody has last minute questions. Hi, Deb. Sorry, I never introduced you. Oh, there you are.
Hi, no, it was a great call. Such great, amazing community. I'm coming for Shabbos. Karen, I'm coming.
More than welcome.
Yeah, no, everybody sounds just really warm and nurturing and caring for one another and really helpful, and it really is a great place to land. It's nice.
It is. It really is. When girls have babies, we're all cooking for them. We're all bringing them stuff, and really, we're there for each other. It's nice.
It is nice. And
how's your Hebrew, Karen?
What?
How's your Hebrew?
I'm fluent.
Are you? That's amazing.
Yes. I was a teacher in the yeshiva system in the States for over 30 years.
Okay.
So my Hebrew is good.
Better than me.
Nice. Yeah, no.
I've got to start. Yeah, I'm terrible. When I was doing my Orpan, I was pregnant and I spent most of my time in the bathroom throwing up. So
oh gosh.
I didn't do much of my Hebrew.
The best way is just to, no matter how awful you speak, to speak.
Yeah.
Because people will invariably correct you.
Believe me, I know. I mean, it's hilarious. And now when I get into a taxi, they would say, Mazel Tov, you just made Aliyah. I go, yeah. How long ago were you here? Not so long ago, only 18 years. It's okay.
Where's Abigail left? Abigail left?
Yeah.
Okay, I wanted to say, don't go to Ulpan, go to Tveria. With 3 months, she learned Hebrew.
Yeah, Tveria.
Yeah.
That's really how I learned Hebrew. My first time I came to Israel, I was 19. I came, I was here for 3 weeks. I made friends here. I corresponded with them. In my teaching years, there were always Israeli teachers. I spoke Hebrew with them. I hung out with Israelis. I spoke Hebrew all the time. I spoke it badly, but I spoke it. But that's how I learned how to speak.
Amazing. Yeah. You can't be lazy. You got to do it.
Yeah.
But
anyway,
I'm saying to all my clients now is that, if you're not sure, it's taking so long for Aliyah, the papers to come through, to sign up with the Jewish agency, it's backlogged, is that take the time now to start doing online courses in Hebrew and pack up your house and get rid of all the things you don't need.
That's a whole other issue. I'm the worst person in the world for that.
And don't bring your furniture unless you have sentimental, you really need to bring it, because these houses sound big enough to keep your American sized furniture in.
I know.
Houses.
I'm just thanking God that I have a niche in my living room that fits my antique piano. that came with me. There was no way I was leaving it.
Wow.
It's from the 1863 or 4.
My goodness. I'm so glad it made it to you with no damages.
I know.
That's
Anyway, good night all. Enjoy.
Thank you so much.
Good luck to everybody that's planning on making Aliyah.
Amen. Thank you very, very much. Thanks everybody for being so kind.
Thank
Take
you.
care. God bless everybody. Good night.
Good night.